The Roman legions were the best armed and equipped army of antiquity. With these high-performance troops, the whole of Europe was conquered. Under its greatest extent, the Roman Empire stretched over northern England, France, parts of Germany, Balkans, Asia Minor, Egypt, North Africa, and Spain. The question arises, why the Roman legions were so strong and so enormously capable of fighting. In this video, we will examine this question using 9 clarifying facts. Let's go. Fact 1. The decimation. The word decimation comes from the Latin word decem, what means 10. That means, every 10th man was executed. Decimation was used in the legions of the Roman Empire as a punitive measure, only when there was collective misconduct by an entire military unit. Roman soldiers, who were deserters or cowards in battle, was found guilty as a group and punished with decimation. A group of 10 men was formed and everyone had to draw a straw. The one who drew the shortest straw was beaten to death by the other 9 comrades. The 9 comrades who survived received a penalty less more terrible. For example, they had to sleep outside the camp for a few weeks, or have received less food. Decimation was used to create discipline among the Roman units. In the year 36 BC, the decimation by General Mark Antony was used. A legionary cohort fled from a Parthian cavalry, in the campaign against the Parthian Empire. This extremely drastic punitive measure was rarely used in the history of the Roman Empire. Fact 2. The Roman weapons. The weapons of the Roman legionnaires were always related with the victory of the Roman troops and the expansion of the Roman Empire. Every Roman legionnaire was equipped with the short sword gladius, a dagger and 2 spears. The gladius was worn on the right side by the legionnaires. The gladius short sword had a length of about 60 centimeters and was made of Roman steel. In addition, the gladius was light and handy. Therefore, short and intensive stab attacks could be carried out with him. The quality of the gladius steel gave the Romans a great advantage in metal weapons of the other nations. In addition, the opposing nations had simpler weapons than the Romans. The spear pilum also belongs in the weapon repertoire of every Roman legionnaire. This pilum had a length of 2 meters. The approximately 80 centimeters long metal tip was thin and could therefore break through enemy shields easily. When penetrating the enemy shield, the tip bent and was very difficult to pull out. Thus the enemy warrior was forced to drop the shield and be left and without protection keep fighting. Fact 3. The immunis. The immunis were one of the reasons the Roman legionnaires were so strong and powerful. The immunis was a special unit in a legion, tasked with supplying weapons and provisions. The raw materials were also partly collected decentrally in the surrounding area where the legion was located. This means that each legion was able to take care of itself and was independently. The immunis were also responsible for the legion's medical supplies. The immunis were, so to speak, a higher qualified specialist compared to the normal legionnaire. For example, they were etchers, engineers and architects. The immunis received higher wages and they didn't have to do heavy physical labor. Only the normal legionnaires had to carry out the heavy physical work. In addition, there were amens, which were doctors who specialized in surgery. So, out of the battle wounded legionnaires could in the legion's camp be supplied immediately and efficiently. Bleeding could be stopped quickly and with antiseptic drugs the wounds were cleaned. These methods only became the medical norm in Europe in the 19th century. It is also worth knowing that the Romans were not aware of bacteria or viruses at the time. Nevertheless, the Romans understood back then that cleanliness and hygiene were very important. The immunist doctors were responsible for curbing plagues in the Roman legions. The various medical procedures and norms have always been strictly followed by the immunis. These facts mentioned and a good quality diet has led to this, that the average life expectancy of Roman legionnaires was higher than that life expectancy of Roman citizens. Fact 4. The Roman boarding bridge corvus. The Romans did not invent the ancient warships, but have copied it from their enemies or neighbors and always improved again. In addition, a crew of a Roman warship have before it went to battle on the high seas, trained intensively in the dry dock. The reason, it was an individual strategy for both the individual ship, as well as for a ship formation. After a few centuries, the Roman warships with the boarding bridge became corvus added. This boarding bridge was mounted at the front of the ship's bow. The one under the bridge-mounted barbs could firmly claw into the enemy ship and the effective takeover of the ship could begin. This invention has the course of naval warfare among the ancient Romans changed massively. Before the enemy ship realized what was actually happening, it was usually too late. The corvus also had a downside. The corvus boarding bridge could not be used in stormy seas. Fact 5. The Romans learned from past mistakes. There is no question that the Romans had almost ingenious warfare. But there was a shock moment in 390 BC. For that, if the Roman Empire had not existed, history might have taken a different course. The first great conflict, in which the Romans took part, was also a great defeat. But this defeat gave the Romans enough motivation and drive to learn from their mistakes. This shock to the Romans occurred in 390 BC when a Gallic army entered northern Italy. In their advance they destroyed an army of the Romans and are upon the city of Rome. When the Gauls arrived in Rome, they noticed that the city had practically no garrison to defend itself. The Roman Senate paid the Gauls with a large amount of gold and the Gauls eventually left. This event was a wake-up call for the Romans. Enormous resources were provided by the Romans to increase the legions, improve the weapons and build city walls. Fact 6. The Fetiales. The Fetiales was a group of 20 Roman priests. These priests were incorporated into every Roman legion. The unit has played an important role in negotiations with enemy or friendly nations. In addition, the Fetiales were always present at state treaties or at declarations of war. The Fetiales come mainly from the formed classes of Roman society. Although the Fetiales did have an impact on Roman politics and warfare, they could not legally make any political or military decisions themselves. In addition, the Fetiales performed an important military rite. For example, if a foreign country has insulted or challenged Rome, one or several of the Fetiales drove to the country's border which is potentially in conflict with Rome and did a 30-day active prayer there. If the gods gave no answer, this was reported to the Senate. Subsequently, one of the Fetiales threw a spear at the land side of the potential conflict land and the declaration of war was legitimized by the gods. Fact 7. The strategy in the field. Since the invasion of the Gauls in 390 BC, the strategy and tactics of the Roman army have changed from the ground up. The Romans realized that soldiers could fight much more effectively, if the legion had a strict division and order prevails. So, the legionnaires had to advance close together and ordered in a rectangle. The left and right flanks were covered by cavalry. Lightly armed reserve troops were posted behind the legionnaires. In addition, the formation before each attack was adjusted to the conditions of the terrain, the strength of the enemy, and the experience of the legionnaires. These rules helped the Romans conquer much of Europe and North Africa over the next few centuries. The Roman legions studied different battle strategies. If the legionnaires then took part in a real battle, they could apply the numerous learned combat skills. And of course the improved weapons and good food have contributed to the fact that even numerically superior opponents could often be defeated. Fact 8. The Praetorian Guard. The Praetorian Guard had its roots before the imperial era. At the time of the Roman Senate. At that time the Praetorian Guard had the function of a secret service. The Praetorians were the elite unit in the Roman armed forces. During the imperial period, the Praetorian Guard acted as the emperor's secret police bodyguards and controlled over the crowds. Fact 9. The army reform of Gaius Marius. Gaius Marius' army reform is undoubtedly one of the most important events that systematically improved the Roman legions. It was a whole package of measures. The implementation of this package is dated to the years 104 to 101 BC. The spear pilum finally became part of the standard armament. Gladiators and veterans led training for combat of legionnaires. Endurance was trained with runs over long distances. The entourage of a legion was dissolved or massively reduced. From then on, the legionnaires had to carry their luggage themselves. They have since been called the mules of Marius. The Roman army could move much faster from then on. The legionary eagle was introduced as a standard. This symbol should increase the soldiers' loyalty to their legion. The census before hiring legionnaires has been abolished. Before, only propertied citizens were allowed to serve. Unified length of service to 16 years was established. This enabled a soldier to better plan his own life. The military career was clearly defined. Promotions were given for merit and ability. That's it for today's 9 facts about the Roman legion. I hope you enjoyed the video. If so, please subscribe to our channel and give a thumbs up. See you soon. Your channel History Best.